Today I'm actually I have the pleasure of interviewing Steve DiMatteo. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so well, Rachel. Thanks for having me on.
Happy Friday. Having a good week so
Yes.
far?
Yes, I am. It is February. This is kind of my golden time of the year because I am somebody who loves bad weather. So like being a true Clevelander, this is my this is the best time of the year because it's just nothing but gray for about 3 months straight. So if I never saw the sun again, I'd be a happy guy. So
See,
I'm
and
doing just fine.
and I feel like I'm learning that the hard way being my first year in Cleveland. So this January to March period is definitely going to be an interesting one for me compared to living in the South, basically. So
Yeah, we'll get you there. Don't worry.
I need a couple years of practice if that's what I'm
Yes.
hearing.
Yeah, right. It only took me about 20 years to get into it. So yeah, no, it's but someday it will you'll wake up and be like, "Oh, this is what I was born for."
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Obviously, we're doing some internal interviews with Six City Marketing employees to kind of get a feel for who we are and what we do, both inside of our normal work days as well as our extracurriculars, things we do on the outside, things we have passions for, and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. What has your journey been like that has led you to this position that you hold at Six City Marketing as the director of inside sales, as well as senior SEO strategist?
Yeah, it's been a pretty winding road. I've been with the company since it started in 2011. Our CEO John and I worked together at an agency previously, and he hired me out of college in 2010 through a mutual friend, and I went through the process, and I had like a Cleveland Browns blog in college that John really liked and saw me, understanding like what SEO was, which in 2010 was like kind of not like super, it wasn't new by any means, but like it wasn't, I think, as ubiquitous as it maybe is now. But uh, that writing for that blog and knowing SEO on a pretty good level at that point got me the job at this agency. John went and started Six City in 2011. I left the other agency and I started freelancing with John, and I came on in a full-time role in like 2014 or 15. Then I worked my way through being a writer, then being an editor, then being the strategist for all the accounts. And then as we grew and grew, my role would shift. And at one point, for about 5 years or so, I was the SEO director. And then I shifted into this role, doing inside sales and still working on the SEO side. So it's been quite a journey.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with that too. It's been nice too, especially with how long you've been with the company. It's nice to see how many roles that you've kind of put yourself into in order to find like the best solutions for you. I mean, coming out of college is such an interesting time just to begin with because like you go through 4 years of college to not like necessarily know where you're going to end up, but I feel like it's always still like a learning curve. And with that being said, you graduated from OU with actually a degree in creative writing, and you said you wanted to become a sports reporter, and that's why
Mhm.
you started working for the Associated Press for a bit. And I guess I just wanted to ask, like, how was that? I know a lot of people don't really get the opportunity to do that, and a lot of people are aspiring writers, especially sports writers in general. So I just wanted to know what your personal experience was like and what you would like give as advice for people interested in going into that field?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great. It was like a dream come true. It was like for 3 years because I was freelancing full time for quite a while before I came on full time, for like almost like 3 or 4 years. And so I did all sorts of different sports writing, not just with the Associated Press, but like I also freelanced with like MLB.com and a couple other like bigger publications. I went out to spring training one year for the then Indians, and then sold some freelance work to a couple other publications that paid pretty well. And I mean, ultimately it came down to like I was just freelancing and I just wanted something like I really liked SEO. I just wanted something like I wanted a full-time job because it's really difficult to freelance. So it was like I was getting married and I just wanted like some stability. And I I love working with John and Six City, obviously, because I've been here for 12 years. So it wasn't because I didn't like what I did. I loved doing it. I think it was just like one of those things where at some point I had to make a choice, right?
Right.
And there's not, and in sports writing world, not to sugarcoat it, but like there's a lot of uncertainty that goes on no matter where you are in that world. And but I would say there are certainly opportunities out there. The way I got in, this is like not for anyone who wants to do sports writing. They're like, oh my god, but like, it is great. It's a great gig, and I actually still do some of it
Hmm.
on a freelance basis. So like, I still get to do it, which is fun. But what I did was I had that Browns blog, and I knew people that were editors at certain publications, and like I became friendly with them on social media or like hit them up on LinkedIn and like basically just flat out asked if they had anything they needed. And one guy at Fox Sports Ohio at the time needed somebody to cover the MAC basketball tournament in Cleveland. And that was where I met Tom Withers, who was the Associated Press guy, the main Associated Press writer for Cleveland. I knew him. So I
Hmm.
went up to him and I just introduced myself and asked if he had anything that he needed. And he's like, well, actually, we're going to need somebody come spring because the baseball season will be starting. And it, just snowballs from there. And so like, it was really just a matter of just like, got to put yourself out there and have things written, even if you're self-publishing things on a blog,
Right.
have clips and just be willing to just like connect with people and just ask.
Yeah.
That was really all it took,
Right.
was like just making those connections. And I mean, it was great. It was like 3 years of being able to cover my favorite sports in the world and talk with athletes and go out to spring training and um, cover the Browns, the Cavs. I went to the NBA finals in 2015 to cover it. Like it was crazy. So like, it was a great experience.
That's awesome, honestly. And just to clarify as well, this was overlapping with your freelancing work at Six City. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was part of it. Yeah. So I was freelancing with like multiple, I don't know, 20 different things going. So you're spinning so many plates that at one point over like 3 years, it was like, I want to just do one thing. And it just so happened that Six City had grown to a point where John needed somebody to come on full time in a capacity that I could do, like my skill set. And so it just worked out really well because I was kind of thinking about a change as well. But it was such a great experience doing all that. I mean, I'll never forget that.
Would you recommend people kind of dabbling with like a bunch of different things coming out of college like you did necessarily, or like would you recommend like kind of more taking more of like a straight shot, like this is what I want to do, this is what I figured out, like going from there basically? I know people work off of different time frames and stuff like that as well, but like do you think there's a wrong way to do it?
No, I don't. I mean, everybody's different, but
Mm-hmm.
like for me, I'm somebody who's always got a lot of irons in the fire. And so I've
Yeah.
always got side projects that are going on, aside from even now. It's like I have my little side project stuff that I like to do. I always have to have multiple things going that just kind of keeps me like, I don't know. It just has me, it's like my mind just works in that way where it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I love my job, but I also like to have my little side projects and I like to have my freelancing and that kind of stuff that, doesn't take away from working at Six City, but like actually just enhances it because I can like learn new things in my freelance stuff that actually I've used the other way at Six City,
Mm-hmm.
where I found things that have worked in a freelance capacity that has made me better at Six City. So, but it was all just like from stuff that, I mean, you don't know things that you like until you do it.
Right.
And that same goes for kind of like work to some
Mm-hmm.
extent. Like in the SEO world, it's like they don't really teach the things that we do a lot of the time. It's like you probably, Rachel, learned like some of what we do in college, I would imagine, right?
Right. A little bit.
But when you came in here, it was like, oh wow, this is like an education on top of the college degree I just got, probably.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing with SEO, especially being more freshly like out of college, just in a sense, they don't really teach SEO in college because or they're starting to teach it more. But I guess the 4 years that I was in college, they didn't teach it that often to begin with because it's something that is ever changing, especially as Google updates is like as consistently as it does. Like it's really hard to sit here and be like, this is how you do it right every time. You know what I mean? When in reality,
Mm-hmm.
this is how you do it right to an extent, but like this is also given that it might not change in 6 months. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, and it does change, thinking when I came out of college, what SEO looked like to now, it's like it hardly matches up to what, so you couldn't like teach it as you did 10 years ago. So, but
Hmm.
again, it's just stuff that like I would say it's different for everybody. It's like if you know what you want to do and you go for it and you get it, it's like awesome. I
Hmm.
didn't have that. When I graduated college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I
Hmm.
wanted to like try some different stuff. I wanted to do writing of some kind. And that really
Yeah.
was the only thing I knew.
Me.
So yeah, I mean, hey, look, I came out of college not knowing what the heck I wanted to do. So it's
Hmm.
okay if that's also the case.
No, that's definitely something I feel like a lot of people struggle with, especially coming straight out of college. I know, like I said earlier, people definitely work at different like time frames basically. I think I had my what am I doing period in the middle of college to kind of figure out towards the end of it, this is like what I should be doing basically. And being here for as long as I have, which hasn't been super long, but still in general, kind of confirms like I've made the right decision for myself, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's nice to have that confirmation.
no, for sure. And I like that you also brought up some of like your extracurriculars, your side hustles, stuff like that as well. And I guess I just wanted to ask a couple questions about that, which starting with like a fairly easy one, a personable one. I recently found out that you are a record collector, and
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know what is your favorite record that you own?
Favorite record that I own now is probably Warren Zevon's Excitable Boy.
Okay.
I love Warren Zevon. My uncle got me into him a ways back, and Warren Zevon's probably my favorite artist at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Excitable Boy. It's the album that has Werewolves of London on it, so
Okay.
it's the song everybody knows. But he was fantastic. He was such a great writer and songwriter and musician, and so that's probably like my favorite album. And he's up for Rock Hall nomination this year, so that's cool.
Okay.
And then my second favorite would be from I'm a big metalhead, so my favorite local a Cleveland based thrash metal band named Gluttons is I got their record a couple of years ago because they don't do a lot of physical releases.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have stuff on streaming, so they're actually really hard to get their music. But they did one like vinyl release, so I have that as well. So I'll always have that.
Okay. Yeah. Why do I feel like I've heard of them before too? I'm not too entirely sure. I'm not your certified metalhead, but like, I feel like I've definitely heard it like before. My brother's definitely very into metal. So that's really cool though. Honestly, I just started my record collection. So we'll see what happens with that. But along the lines also of these side hustles, I wanted to talk specifically about your t-shirt side hustle and tell me about that. If anybody lives in the Cleveland area, Steve owns a vintage t-shirt company called Cleveland Vintage. So
Mhm.
um the floor is yours.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, obviously, like people who know Cleveland know there are like 62,000 t-shirt companies in existence. But the angle that I wanted to take with it was that like I didn't really find that there were too many t-shirt companies taking advantage of the history of the area. So like defunct businesses, defunct sports teams, like things that don't get covered a lot in these t-shirt companies, which I thought was a gap, and I thought it would be fun to. I've always wanted to do an e-commerce store, and see what I could do with that, putting to use my SEO knowledge now. And
Hmm.
so I started a store a couple years ago, and I mean it's a grind, don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
But the other thing that I'm doing with it that I think is starting, and I didn't really think of it this way until it started to kind of mold this way. My dad actually writes a lot of stuff for it as well. So he and I are kind of working on it together, but like we're kind of starting to become like a Cleveland history blog. And like that's sort of funneling the like shirt sales where like we're almost primarily becoming like a Cleveland history resource as opposed to just being a straight t-shirt store that you could go to. So
Right.
we get a lot of people who, so like there, for instance, there was an old record store called Record Rendezvous downtown,
Hmm.
and they are the owner of that place is the person who has been credited as coining the term rock and roll. And so partly that's the reason why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is even in Cleveland. But it was an old famous record store that everybody would go to when they were in town. Big
Right.
Axe. And so we wrote a blog on that. So like it's stuff like that where it's like I don't see a lot of people doing that either. So I'm trying to like it's kind of just evolving as it goes. But it's been super fun to just like cover the city's history and do some cool shirts in the process.
No, are you I guess I just want a better understanding of what you're doing in general. Are you creating the shirts? Are you like finding the shirts and reselling the shirts? Like, how does
I
that
create
work?
them.
Oh,
So I create
nice.
'em. Yeah. So I create. Sometimes there are designs of like old businesses and like super old breweries and stuff like that from like the beginning of the 20th century, things like that. But like
Right.
other designs we'll create on our own, but it's all like stuff we create. Yeah. It's not, it's called Cleveland Vintage Shirts just because it's got the historical aspect, but they're all like shirts we're creating.
Okay. Yeah. And like, what do you see the direction of Cleveland Vintage like going in, I guess?
I mean, now that I think of it, I want it to actually be more of like a resource for Cleveland history than it. I mean, look, I want to sell shirts, and I'd like to at least pay for my Shopify subscription. But aside from that, and not losing money, I want to kind of create it as like a Cleveland history resource. So like, um, I just got access to an old WMMS. The station used to do like these coffee break concerts,
Hmm.
and I just found somebody who put up the entire one from 1976 that had Warren Zevon doing a live show at the Agora. And so I want to put that on the site and like use that as, you know what I mean? So I want to like have that history on the site because people actually find us mostly through the blog posts
That's
as
awesome.
opposed to like searching for like Cleveland sweatshirts, which like I want that too. But um, yeah, I mean, you know, it's cool that people come find us that way.
No, that's definitely awesome. I didn't even think about that either, honestly. But have you gotten any positive feedback from like individuals basically on like just the t-shirts in general, whether it be like in inquiries and stuff like that, what people want to see more of?
Yeah, a lot of people send requests. I did like a radio station interview and I was on like Channel 5 for a few minutes doing like a little bit of a thing on it. And people really liked, I did a shirt of that whale building on the lake, on the freeway on 90 heading into
Okay.
downtown. There's the whale mural
Okay.
and that everybody knows who lives in the area. And it's a real famous mural by an artist. And I did a shirt of that, and so everybody really liked that. And I'm trying to find these like avenues into things that I haven't seen before, and so I get that feedback. But a lot of people like shoot me ideas for like shirts and stuff. And I've had like friends and stuff buy stuff without telling me, but then like telling me afterwards that they bought it because they liked a particular design. So
Okay.
I think the feedback's pretty good.
No, that's awesome. And like I feel like especially with getting good feedback too, there's always room for like improvement and growth and stuff like that, especially working in SEO and just working with just entrepreneurship and like a small business in general. So like that's really awesome to hear. And I guess I wanted to ask as well, does your TikTok have anything to do with Cleveland Vintage or is it just two separate entities that you're working on?
Well, I have my personal TikTok, which is where I do just really silly, dumb stuff. It's the nicest way to describe it. But then, um, and that's just me goofing off. But
Hmm.
I actually do have a Cleveland Vintage Shirts TikTok as well.
Okay.
So I have a TikTok dedicated to that they're videos that are like on Cleveland history. And then what I've done is like tied shirts to those videos and like used them in like blog posts and stuff as like supplementary like video content.
Right.
Um so I actually do have a TikTok dedicated to that.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And I do know I asked this in particular because I know there's a TikTok that I've seen of you specifically like smashing your head through ice through one of like the windows in your car.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I saw that actually first on Instagram before I even knew it was like something that you were involved with and it just blew my mind. But like
Were you like I work wait a minute, do I work with that guy?
no, literally. I I saw it, thought really not much of it, and then I saw Emma talk about it, and I was like, wait, like I had to like backtrack a little bit. It was hilarious, and I was like, what are the odds, right?
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
when you kind of strike moments of like video genius like that, basically, do you get any like cool like outcomes from it? Like, do you get like news stations and stuff reaching out, being like, "Can we use this?" and stuff like that?
Yeah. Sometimes It's funny. It's like sometimes that I don't get that so much. A lot of it is just like these sort of like aggregators taking the video and like sharing it like on Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
like using it. And like, I don't know about it until like you said Emma like tags me or somebody tags me. Is like, what? And so like, I've shown up many times in places that I didn't know I was at and people like tagged me and stuff. So I don't like, not much like comes of it. I will tell you that. Like, you get like lots of views and stuff, and it's awesome. And I think
Mm-hmm.
like it's just more like I really just like goofing off on the internet and like making people laugh. I mean, I still do really. I have a group. We have a sketch comedy group that I have with some friends from high school, and we post videos on YouTube and stuff. And we probably were too ahead of our time, in that we like weren't doing stuff in this age of like TikTok. Like we probably should be, but we all live in different areas now. But like, I've always loved doing sketch comedy, and I've always liked putting stuff out there that people laughed at. And so TikTok's great for that. I can really, it's just like, I mean, you'll get tons of views, but like, yeah, I don't get, nobody's throwing money my way. That's for sure.
So would you say there's like no, I guess to an extent, no correlation between like being like viral, let's say viral, quote unquote, viral on social media compared to like the amount of traction you could get for like your business, you know what I mean? Let's say like you
Mhm.
had a post go viral on your Cleveland Vintage site. Would you see the return on investment in that on your site as much as you should? Or is it people kind of just like seeing stuff and passing it by?
That's a great question, and it's mostly people seeing stuff and passing it by, because I've had on the Cleveland Vintage TikTok, not to toot my own horn, but like I've had videos have like 500,000 views, right? It's like just silly dumb stuff about the Midwest or whatever. And
Right.
I've had those videos get those types of views, and I have like a link to the site in my bio,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll get like 12 visits. Like, I mean, it's so stupid. The funny thing is, social media apps are not designed to take you off site. They are designed to keep you on the app for as long
Mm-hmm.
as humanly possible. So they make
Right.
it very, very difficult to get you off the app. So like, I don't fault them for it. It's just like, I don't have any like misconceptions about like my social media for anything I do, like harboring any sort of like anything for the business. I will say like the thing that is growing the Cleveland Vintage shirts is SEO. It's
Yeah.
writing content. It's
Mm-hmm.
knowing what to target with a keyword, or it's like any of my other side projects. I have other like content sites I'm working on. It's all keyword based. It's like you have to know what you want to target. You got to write content for it. It's like not unlike we do with any businesses we work with.
Right. No, absolutely. And I see why Six City takes such a hard like emphasis on website content over social media nowadays too, just because I've kind of come to realize as well that like the correlation between the two, there's like a difference between definitely being well recognized on a social media platform and like what does it mean for your business, you know what I mean? I think social media, and you can correct me maybe if I'm wrong, but like social media in general is definitely just like more of like presenting yourself as a brand instead of please buy my product, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's all about the branding, and that's never a bad thing. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
bet. It's not, I wouldn't dismiss branding, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should go into it like thinking like, well, if I start a Facebook page and I do a TikTok and I do Instagram, like I'm gonna bring in all these new sales.
Okay.
Because people just don't. I mean, someday social media will have to reconcile that and reckon with it, but like it just no, I don't see that sort of correlation in terms of like, if we're talking about the things that will actually drive the business, it's like SEO, it's pay per click,
Mm-hmm.
on like Google ads, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, social media is a lot of fun. That's why I just goof around on it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not like being like, I'm going to be an influencer. Cause even that, you could join all these programs and you get paid like 35 cents
Yeah.
to make videos. So
Yeah. And I feel like
I,
that stuff is definitely just like a shot in the dark whether you get recognized, and you know what I
yeah,
mean, with so many people that aspire to be quote influencers. I feel like the chances are slim to none in that sense, you know what I mean?
just start a blog. I mean, honestly, like if you want to be an influencer in something, you should actually just start a blog.
Interesting.
that would be my recommendation. Yeah,
Oh,
it'll be a lot of work, but that would be how to do it.
interesting. I'll keep that in mind the next time I want to become rich and famous. So
Yeah, yeah. Just hit me up. Yeah,
okay, I'll let you know if I need content written. Absolutely.
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
to pull things back a little bit into just the six city realm again. I know we've talked a lot about your side hustles in general, but I was told as Six City Marketing's quote, diehard East Sider, how do you feel about working
Hmm.
in a hybrid work environment and not having to
I
go
will.
into the office every day?
I will not complain about it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely not complain about it. It's been mostly great. I don't mind coming in. I really don't. I like it a lot for being able to like get my kids to daycare and preschool
Yeah.
and do it in like a reasonable time frame. I like it for that. The flexibility and like ability to have, being able to pick them up and that kind of thing and have a little more time with them in the morning is like invaluable. I get so much more time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind the drive. I am a diehard East Sider, but I don't mind the drive because I use that drive time is Steve time. That's when I get to like listen to my music. I get to listen to my podcasts and my audiobooks. Like it's my radio shows that I like. So like, um, I don't mind the drive most days, to be honest, because it's like, hey, this is great. Hanging out by myself. This is nice. So, but I mean, I'm also saving years and years on my car. So you take you get both, the best of both worlds. But I like to try and do the hybrid. I do like to go in because I do also like to be around people.
Yeah.
So and be in society.
How often would you say you go in?
Like 1 or 2 times a week
Yeah,
is my
that's
yeah.
usually how I am too. And then when it comes to our super fun Six City Marketing Company outings, I definitely try and show up as best I can for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to at some point I'll probably up it again. It's one of those, I mean, it's the flexibility is nice, but I definitely try to get in at least once a week just to be in person.
Absolutely. And especially I feel like with this time of year as well, like we said, it's February, it's cold. Sometimes you don't really want to get up and like head to work, especially when you are, like I said earlier, living on the east side. So completely understandable. I guess my final question for you, talking about these super fun Six City Marketing outings in general, one of our big ones that we do each year is our Halloween outing. And I wanted to emphasize you dressed up as Steve from Blue's Clues this past Halloween. Now that it's February, if you had the chance to have a different Halloween costume this year, what would you have done?
Yeah, I would say Steve from Blue's Clues wasn't maybe my best. But then again, last year I did my best one, which was like Lewis Tully from Ghostbusters, and no one knew who I was. So there was that. I don't have any regrets on it, and I'll keep some of my ideas close to the vest just because I don't want
Fair.
people to, because we have a competition, we have a costume competition. But I like to surprise people. But I would say if I had to change it, it'll be a sappier answer because I wish I had been Weird Al. I've already been Weird Al before, but I would have liked to do it again because my son is like obsessed with Weird Al all of a sudden. So I really, really would have loved for it to line up because then I could have been Weird Al while he was obsessed with it because he wants to be Weird Al now for Halloween this year. So maybe I'll do it this year. But that might have been my that might have been the only one I would have considered is going back to that well again.
Was he liking Weird Al back in October too? Like
Well, not so much yet. We got him a CD and a CD player for Christmas with a Weird Al CD, so that way he could like play it all the time. And
exciting.
so now it's like gone like rocketed up. So he's obsessed.
Is he playing it out loud or did you get him like headphones to
Oh no way!
listen?
He's got to play it out loud. I
For
am
sure.
obsessed with Weird Al. I love it. I've been to you're talking to somebody who's been to 3 Weird Al concerts in his life. So, so that's more than okay.
Honestly, start him young is what I'm hearing. Like,
Absolutely.
well, maybe if
Yes.
he's still going through his phase, what, 6 months from now, like it definitely is a strong contender for our Halloween
Oh
competition.
yeah.
Do you ever change the two? Like you have a costume for the outing and then have a costume like to go trick or treating with your kids?
No, not really. I'm
Yeah.
too much work. That's too much work. If I didn't have kids, maybe, but like, man, oh man, like it's best if I can just get one costume. Like I'm usually like down to the wire.
Yeah.
So, I was that when I made that Louis Tully one, it had like all these like wires and stuff I had to like glue onto like a strainer. So I was hot glue gunning wires and stuff all over my like helmet and everything. And it was took me like all month to do. And it was just like, I got to weigh the, pros and cons here. So, I got a good idea brewing for this year. If it's not Weird Al, if my son doesn't make me do Weird Al, but we'll see.
No, absolutely. I get that completely. For it being my first Halloween outing this year for Six City, I definitely played it safe just to kind of, this is what I said. I like to play the field first just to kind of assess who I'm dealing with and then like come back stronger.
Right.
So I definitely have started brewing some ideas. Who knows, if I'm lucky, I can go as a mime with John Sr. next year, and that would be hilarious. Go. So
absolutely. Yeah. You had to know the weirdos that you were working with before you knew what to do.
Absolutely. I mean, like nothing will beat me walking into the office for our Halloween outing this year, and the first person me seeing is Emma.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing, and Annie's so good with her costumes as well. So
we take it very seriously.
It's been a pleasure, honestly, just to kind of see what I'm working with, so I can come back only stronger next year. That's the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it serves as motivation.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Well, Steve, it was a pleasure to talk to you this afternoon, honestly. And as we continue curating like episodes where I continue to interview different coworkers and employees at Six City Marketing, it'll only give people a sense of like who we are, where we come from, what we do, and just the direction we want to go in as a company and individuals. So thank you for speaking to me this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rachel. I really appreciate it.